Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 29th of March. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning for the first time this week by Jonny McFarlane. How are we doing, Johnny?
Good, Derek. Good. Few beers last night watching the Scotland game. Very impressive and enjoyable seeing the national team beat Spain. A pretty unexpected win, it has to be said, and a pretty unexpected level of performance, I thought. Outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we talk about Rangers, I mean, I've got to say, I never watched the game at the weekend against Cyprus, but I watched last night's game, and I was impressed by Scotland. Listen, a lot have been made of Rodri's sour grapes afterwards. They played rubbish football and they were falling over. I think the Spanish were doing a bit of that themselves, I've got to say. But yeah, it's a great start for the qualifying campaign, isn't it? I mean, you look at the players that Scotland have at their disposal at the moment. I think Steve Clark, I think he's doing a good job, I've got to say, with the group of players that he has, and that certainly bodes well for going forward. If you can beat Spain in that manner, then certainly there'll be a lot of confidence going forward that you can qualify for the Euros in Germany, obviously next year, which will be around before you know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this group's already shaping up really positively for Scotland, given that Norway have only picked up 1 point from the first two games as well. Drawn in Georgia. Listen, that won't be an easy game for Scotland going to Georgia, but I don't think either of those teams will have an easy time against Spain at home either. So it's certainly an incredibly good start and puts Steve Clark and the team in a right good position to get to another Euros, which would be amazing. We're all football fans. We concentrate on Rangers here at the Rangers Review, but you know, I think most people enjoy seeing the national team at big tournaments. It's not the same if your own country isn't there. It's just an extra added level of enjoyment. Many of us really love these tournaments, but having your home country there just takes it to a different level. And I think that would be just fantastic, wouldn't it? I thought they performed really, really well last night. It goes without saying, Derek. It was quite comfortable in the end, and you know, Scotland had chances. Could have been more.
Yeah, as I say, I don't watch Scotland much, but I was impressed last night with them. So, yeah, good result. But people are tuning in to talk all things Rangers. And as Tam Brown says as well, he says, glad Jack was rested. Yeah, he had his feet up last night at Hampden. So that was good to see. Hopefully comes back in one piece to Rangers, of course, with Saturday looming against Dundee United. Right, before we talk things Rangers, folks, just a quick word, first of all, for our sponsor, Seneca Hair Restoration, the top dogs in hair transplant in Europe, no less. So if you're looking for maybe restoring some lost self-confidence, a hair transplant perhaps a la Chris Boyd or a Kamar Roof, then these are the guys to go to. And also, you can see a little ticker below if you want to subscribe to our website. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And if you want to support our YouTube channel as well, nearing 12,000 subscribers on there. So thank you to each and every one of you. And if you want to sign up, it's dead easy. It means if you click the bell, it means you'll never miss a video when we go live. Right, let's talk all things Rangers, Johnny, because Michael Beale's been speaking to Rangers TV. Of course, big milestone coming up for Allan McGregor at the weekend, his 500th Rangers appearance, which is quite incredible. But Michael Beale told Rangers TV to achieve 500 games for Rangers is a very special achievement. Very few have done it in the past, and certainly to the age that Allan's played and the achievements he's had at the club. And the time I've worked with him here, it's probably the best part of 200 to 250 games. He's been absolutely outstanding in some of the saves he's made. There's too many to mention, but every season he's earned his points, he's won his games, he's got us through to the next round in cup competitions. When you look at him day in, day out, there's no secrets. It's hard work, preparation, dedication to your craft, and always intrigued and open-eyed in terms of learning and wanting to get better. This is a man in his 40s and trains every day like a teenager, and he's watching and learning all the time. He's self-reflective, very self-critical, if you like, and he's willing to take feedback on and just wants to win and get better. And then he added, Michael Beale, if that can rub off you, and as a young player and everyone in the squad is younger than him, so everybody in the squad, if that can rub off in you, you're not opening your eyes to better yourself. He's been a cornerstone of everything that's been good about this club since I came in 2018, and I think you can be hugely proud, and he's not finished yet. There'll be 500 and something. It won't end at 500. The service that he's given this football club as a young boy coming through our academy is outstanding. What do you make of Michael Beale's comments? It is a landmark occasion for him on Saturday, Johnny. Quite incredible, 500 games. Not many players can say that.
Yeah, I mean, Allan McGregor deserves all the plaudits coming his way. Derek, we've given him a hard time, I think, over the course of the season, probably from some of his goalkeeping. I don't think he's aged 41 as good as he once was. That goes without saying, but none of that diminishes the fact I think he's still a decent keeper even at this age, which is remarkable. And he has been an unbelievable keeper for Rangers. And when people have discussions about the greatest to ever stand between the sticks, I think there'll be a lot, especially in this generation, who maybe didn't see Andy Gorham in the flesh, who will say McGregor. And that's testament, I think, to the quality that he has, because, you know, we've got video footage of Gorham. It wasn't like in previous eras where you're relying on people's memories and telling you about certain players. You know, it's there. And I don't think anyone who was around in the 90s thought anyone would ever come close to Andy Gorham. And there you have Allan McGregor, who's just had a plethora of incredible performances, incredible achievements. You know, he's been part of I know he missed the first European final, but part of a team that reached 2 European finals with Rangers, which is quite remarkable, really. He's won a number of trophies. I think in terms of 55 season, Derek, he was absolutely peerless. I don't think he'd ever been better than he was that season. He was like a man possessed. So I think he is rightly going to be lauded, and 500 games is a stunning achievement, and I think he deserves to get a massive reception at the weekend.
Yeah, I think he will. He's been outstanding for Rangers, and the old debate, of course, inducted into the Hall of Fame last month, and the debate as who is the greatest goalkeeper in Rangers history is a testament to how well he's done at the club. Lots of comments coming in with regards to McGregor. Billy Bright says, McGregor is the best keeper I've seen at Ibrox. Andy Gorham had better defenders in front of him. He won his 55. And an interesting point, just on the back of that, with Michael Beale saying he's not finished, Scott Cameron says, McGregor can't be Rangers #1 beyond the summer. It's the right time as part of the wider squad refresh. Where do you stand on that, Johnny? There's nothing in what Michael Beale's saying there, and we've not heard nothing from Allan McGregor about hanging up the gloves in the summer. But I think the majority of supporters feel that a new goalkeeper is imperative in the summer transfer window, perhaps even 2 goalkeepers. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think Rangers need to go out and get a new goalkeeper. I don't think you can be a club of the size of this one and be relying on a guy who will be 42. You know, for the large part of next season. I don't think that's viable. Allan McGregor could maybe hang around as a number 2. I don't really think he would necessarily be keen on that, but no. You know, I don't know. He might be, but I think everyone is aware that if Rangers haven't gone out and signed a new keeper, then I think there will be significant upset amongst the fans. And I think a number of pundits and journalists will also be questioning the club's strategy. But listen, Michael Beale has said that they're going to sign a keeper in the summer, so I don't even think it's up for debate. It's clear that he wants a new guy in between the sticks, and it'll be up to Allan to decide. I mean, he's earned the right to decide when he goes out. I think many of us would have looked back at that Scottish Cup final and thought it was the perfect time to call it a day, having been subbed on and had that adulation. But you know, Allan's not one to be, I don't think, swayed by other people. He makes up his own mind. I think he's quite a very, very self-determined character, and has always been that way, Derek. So he decided that he wanted to play on, and fair play to him for that. But I think it's been a season too far, personally. I don't think Allan's disgraced himself or anything like that. I think he's had some very good saves at times. But if you look at the numbers that underpin a goalkeeper, they're not altogether that impressive anymore. You've got a guy who, in the 55 season, was saving 8 or 9 goals above what he should have. and he's now saving 3 or 4 less than what he should have. So now, listen, Alan might say that that's nonsense. These numbers, it's just stats; they don't mean anything. But I'm basing it on not just the stats, but the eye test as well. I think there's been times this season when goals have gone in when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And listen, I still think he's the best goalkeeper at the club.
Yeah.
I mean, McCrory is obviously someone who needs to be given some sort of a chance, but has been denied that by injury. I think Michael Beale said multiple times he would want to get him in and see what he can do. Hopefully, we'll have a bit of that before the end of the season. But whether or not McGregor will be easy to budge for McCrory, I'm not so sure. McCrory is even at that level yet, to be honest. I think there needs to be some money spent in that position. And Rangers have had, in my lifetime, a succession of top quality goalkeepers. I've said it before on here. Even the sub goalkeepers, we've had people like Antti Niemi as the sub goalkeeper for Rangers. So it's been a real high quality position when the club has been firing on all cylinders. Let's not discuss the banter years. Let's just concentrate on the what was top flight Rangers. And you look at Allan McGregor, you look at Ronald Vaterus. He was an outstanding keeper in his day. You look at Stefan Klos, Andy Gorham. It's just a who's who of real top class talent, and that's something that underpins and gives you a foundation as a team, and that's what Michael Beale has to go out and find. It's an unenviable task, Derek, because it won't be easy.
Yeah. Lots of comments come in. Bob says, let's see how the end of this season goes. If things don't work out, then give the jersey to Robbie McCrory and give him a run of games to test him out. I think that may happen after the Cup semi-final, perhaps. But yeah, I'm with Bob. I'd like to see Robbie given a chance to prove himself, if you like. We've not really had much evidence to see if he can. The 2 games he came in for, Michael Beale has touched on before. Last season, of course, when COVID ravaged the squad, he did reasonably well. Let's get to a few more of the comments that are coming in. Kev Armstrong says, one of the worst parts of 2012 is how many records were taken away from McGregor. I doubt he would have ever left had that not happened, which is a fair point. Ross Armour says, McGregor lives and breathes Rangers. Definitely see him as a future goalie coach at the club after he retires from playing. Johnny, you spoke on record. You're not a big fan of ex-players just getting jobs as coaches, if you like, in the boot room. But McGregor as a goalie coach, would you be opposed to that?
I would be opposed to it, mate, but it's just one of those things where I just think if you're a forward-thinking club, you go out and you get the very, very best person that you can. So who's the best goalkeeping coach on the market with the most experience, who can train your keepers in the best way? Now, someone like Allan McGregor or a Stephen Davis, great people to have around the club because they understand the demands, the unique pressures of playing for Rangers, and they'll be able to use their own personal experiences to explain situations to players in a way that perhaps that guy who's the best in the market can't. But you know what? I think the day-to-day technical quality of going out and getting the best for each position supersedes that. So that's always going to be my take on it. I'm never going to be a fan of it, but I think having there is a benefit to having big personalities who know the club around about the building. That is necessary, Derek. But it's about finding a balance, I think, between best in class coaching and people who have been there and done it. There needs to be that kind of that link to the past and that understanding of exactly what this club is all about. Because if they don't have that, then I think you hit the ground. You struggle to hit the ground running, and I think you very, very quickly will run into difficulties because when adversity hits, you need someone there almost to just explain exactly what you're about to face. Because we know when things go wrong at Rangers, it takes a big mentality, a big player, big personality to come back. And sometimes having someone around that's been through it and come through it themselves can make all the difference, I think, to helping those players overcome these obstacles. Yeah.
Some other goalies that people are suggesting that you never mentioned, but were top class.
Who have I missed?
Lionel Charbonnier says Teddy Bears. He was a
Yeah,
class number 2. Prior to his injury, he was top class. I loved watching Lionel in action. And Peggy McPhail, one for the older Bears. Peter McCloy was a terrific goalkeeper. The Girvan
before my
Lighthouse.
time, but I've seen clips, obviously. But,
yeah, absolutely. And good goalie coach as well. In the recent interview I did with Lindsay Hamilton, he says he was a coach for him, Chris Woods, and Nicky Walker back in the day, and he speaks highly of Peter McCloy. Potential replacements then, Johnny. There's a few comments coming in, one directed at you from Ian McPhee. Johnny, what's your take on Gunn as a replacement? Not impressed with his distribution last night. 2 clean sheets in the last 2 Scotland games, but a lot of folks not having him. Joe says, I've just joined and it's probably been discussed already, but Angus Gunn looks solid last night. Could be a good signing with time. What's your feeling on Angus Gunn? He was linked a couple of weeks ago, Johnny, wasn't he, at Norwich?
He was. I have to agree on the distribution. I don't think he had a great game distribution-wise. There was a couple of times when he sliced the ball out when not under a particularly large amount of pressure. But I thought he handled everything that was thrown at him fairly well. Funnily enough, Derek, I don't think Spain really made too much out of the game. They didn't have too many great moments. They fired a few shots over the bar. I don't think Gunn had a lot to do. Listen, this is another one of my little peccadillos that people who watch this regularly will have heard before, but I just kind of feel like Rangers should be trying to shop outside of the English market because it's extremely expensive. I think there's a lot of really good goalies out there, and if you spread your net far and wide and you want to try and go and find one that's a balance between someone that can fit into Scottish football, where there's a lot of balls flung into the box, someone who can pass the ball out from the back, that's very important, and someone who's capable of making big saves. Now, these guys don't grow on trees, but you can go out and find talent. There's no doubt about that. But Rangers, when it comes to Gunn, I think there has been a little bit of interest there, Derek, but whether or not is enough to make it happen, I'm not sure. Certainly his profile in Scotland has taken a massive upward turn since Craig Gordon's injury, and now he's effectively the number 1, isn't he? But I don't think Angus Gunn did badly at all. I thought he looked decent last night. He was dependable, but I don't think at the same time he had an awful lot to do.
Yeah. Interesting is like a bit of comedy on the show in the morning. World's Greatest Tease says, I wouldn't pull the trigger on signing Gunn, lad. So Sky Willie agrees with you, Johnny. Says spread the net when looking for talent. Well said. There is a lot of good goalkeepers out there. Stephen Smith raises a point. He says, I like the look of the young Ukrainian goalie, only 21 and excellent with the ball at his feet. And 2 against England, but no chance with them. Listen,
see that point there, just on spreading the net far and wide. Like Rangers do that, it's not to say that there isn't talent in England. Look, Joe Aribo is a perfect example of that. They managed to snap him up for 300k and sold him for £10 million all in. I think if you look at Cantwell, he's now looking like a real bargain as well. So if you're shopping in the right places, then England is clearly still a market. If you've got someone like Michael Beale who knows it, that real success can be found in. And obviously English players don't have to adapt to a new culture or anything like that. They're just capable of understanding the football and understanding the country quite quickly. But I feel like sometimes, especially over the last decade, Rangers have been too focused on the domestic market. And we all know that it's a very expensive market to operate in. If you go somewhere like Croatia, Rangers have had great success shopping in that market, for example, with I think Niko Katic was a good player, especially at the time when he signed, and he was pretty unlucky with injuries, but adapted to the Scottish game like a duck to water. Borna Barisic has had his ups and downs, but overall has been a really, really good signing. And of course, there was Eros Grezda, who you spoke to quite recently, Derek, I think, a year ago or something like that, who it didn't work out entirely, but that's 2 out of 3 from the Croatian market, I think, that did pretty well. And it's a market I think Rangers should be looking at. Bosnian market, the Scandinavian clubs, to me, that's a little untapped in terms of the signings that have been made.
Yeah, funny you mentioned Eros Grezna. Weirdly enough, he was in my dream at some point last night. Just when you said his name there, which is bonkers, so random. Can't imagine. I can't remember what it was about, folks, but I do recall he appeared in there for some bizarre reason. Let's get to a few more points coming in. Billy Bright says, "How is Robbie McCrory's recovery going?" I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to speak to Michael Beale on, I think it's Friday, is it?
Friday. Yeah,
it's Friday this week. So we'll get the opportunity to ask Michael Beale about a squad update ahead of that game against Dundee United. And it'll be interesting what team he selects. We discussed a bit last week, Johnny, when Michael Beale touched on the fact he wants to try out a three at the back system with the players coming back from international duty. Touch wood, they all come back 100% fit. There's a few selection headaches he's going to have to think about, especially up top. I think Antonio Cholak didn't cover himself in glory for Park, whereas Alfredo Morelos came on, set up the goal for Malik Tillman. I think there's a decision to be made up there. If Alfredo's kept himself in good shape over the international break, then I think that's a decision to be made. Whether Borna Barisic comes in instead of Ridvan Yilmaz is another one. And then, of course, does he play the back three? So there's a lot of selection dilemmas facing the manager ahead of the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating, Derek, to see how he lines up, because, as you say, Cholak was beyond awful in that final game before the international break. He really was hopeless. A big part in losing the second goal. And just couldn't hit a barn door all day. Just didn't offer anything, really. When Morelos came on, he changed the game, or was part of the tide that changed the game. I think it's safer to say it was a great pick out where he found Malik Tillman, and obviously a great finish by the young lad. I suspect he'll still go with Cholak. Now, Alfredo Morelos has got a habit of turning up after these international breaks, having been away in Colombia, and I do believe that he is in Colombia, having perhaps slightly overindulged. So it'll be a bit of a test to see if he comes back in the best of shapes. If he does, then maybe the answer is to put Alfredo back in. But if not, I think obviously Cholak will be retained and given another chance, but he can't put another performance like that in, Derek. That's just not a Rangers standard. As simple as that. This is a club with higher levels required than that. And, your 2-goal salvo that you got against Hibs is quickly forgotten. Richard Gough made that famous comment, didn't he, about Rangers, you're not as good as your last game, you're as good as your last pass. And Cholak is going to have to reconcile himself with these facts, because they are facts, and improve pretty sharpish. But I think Beale will go with him against Dundee United. It's the kind of game that Cholak, I think, comes alive in. There's going to be a lot of opportunities in and around the box, because Rangers are going to be pushing extremely, extremely far forward. I think they've been better under their new manager since Goodwin went in, and I think he'll be very organised. But Rangers will dominate the game, and he'll look to hit on the break. That's the way Jim Goodwin always operates in these type of games. When he's been with a club that's not Aberdeen, he famously came to Ibrox for that game under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst that Michael Beale was at as a visitor, and came out and opened up and was picked apart. I don't think he'd be making that mistake again. He said after the game that he'd made a mistake on that one. So it'll be very interesting to see a number of selections around the pitch. But the one for me, as I've already said, is the Cholak Morelos conundrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross raises a good point. Of course, this match is the penultimate game to the trip to Parkhead as well. So it'll be interesting to see what team he selects. Ross says, I'd like to see Tillman come in and play high for Cholak or Sakala. Bring Raskin in next to Jack and Cantwell. Kent behind the two, which is an interesting proposition. Raskin, for me, of course, he missed it, the 2 Belgium under-21 internationals. He's one we really hope that he's fit. We'll find out on Friday if he is. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. It would just be our luck if he's ruled out for this game and beyond. But that's interesting. There's been a lot of comments about Malik Tillman, Johnny, and people want to see him play more in a sort of centre-forward sort of role. Would you like to see that yourself?
I think we saw an element of that, didn't we, against Motherwell when Morelos and Tillman were kind of playing up front together, and Michael Beale, I don't know if he was if he let it slip or he was quite happy for it to be out there. He said that that's something that the club had been working on with those two as a duo. I think it's difficult to find a blend with Alfredo because he plays in quite a specific way. He used to leading the line on his own, but maybe Tillman, a guy who's more of a natural kind of creator who drops in behind Morelos, might be someone that is a good foil for him. So I'll be very interested to see that continue. I think Beale has said again pretty often that he sees Tillman's best role as a number 8, as someone who can get up and down, and he sees that as his long-term future. I think Tillman himself maybe sees himself as a 10, but I think if you look at his athleticism, if you look at his physicality, Derek, I think many managers will want to try and harness that going backwards as well as forwards. And if they can get a tune out of him, if they can manipulate the rough diamond and kind of polish him, then what a player you could have. Because he's such a powerhouse, Derek. You know, it's so rare to get a guy 6'2" or whatever he is, built like a brick outhouse, who's got such good feet and so creative. And that's obviously why Rangers are so keen to snap him up, I think, on a longer-term deal at the end of the season. I think that's why Bayern Munich will have a pretty tantalising release clause if they do sell him to Rangers, because they'll be well aware that he's a player with enough talent to become an important player for both his national team and for Rangers, and potentially one that's good enough to make his way in the Bayern squad. Now, I don't think he's anywhere near there yet. I think that's a completely different level, the Bundesliga to the Scottish Premiership. But I think Rangers showed last season that they could hold their own in that league. If we're talking about Rangers, if he can improve and adapt with the rest of the squad, I think he himself can become a major player. But time will tell on that one. I certainly want to see Tillman brought in at the end of the season. Regardless, Derek. To me, that is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
It has to be done. I think it's £6 million, I was told, when he first signed. It might be a little bit less than that, but roughly around that. And I think there won't be a very big gap for much profit if Bayern decide to come back in, put it that way. Yeah. I think Bayern will have a release clause inserted in that deal that will allow them to come and snap him up for not an awful lot more than that. I don't think Rangers will be making huge money off this deal if it goes through. Should he actually go to the next level? I think this would be about getting a player that could come in and really offer you incredible quality on the pitch over a period. And this deal is a way to give you that, because a player that otherwise you couldn't normally get to Rangers.
Yeah, I agree with the comment from Ross earlier. I think that midfield three for me, if fit, of course, which is the important thing to consider here, is a Raskin, Jack and Cantwell midfield three. I think that works ever so well with Malik Tillman further up. But listen, we'll see on Saturday how Michael Beale will line this team up. As I mentioned, a lot of decisions to be made ahead of that game, and we'll speak to the Rangers manager on Friday. And we'll get all the fallout on the Rangers Review website and on our social media channels as well. Cannot wait for the return of domestic action, I've got to say. Not a big fan of the international week, so it keeps almost gets bigger and bigger every season, the old international break, doesn't it, during the course of the domestic campaign. But great to see Rangers back in action on Saturday. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Jonny, as ever, and to everyone for interacting with the programme. It's very much appreciated. Just a reminder, if you want to subscribe to the website, head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, that's totally free. Almost 12,000 of you now joining us, so thank you to each and every one of you. If you click the notification bell, you'll never miss a video when we go live. I'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.